Are we recording?
Yep. I just took a
Can you check? Test 1 2.
Picture of you.
Test 1 2.
Boom. Picture.
Patrick
right.
sucks.
What? That's so mean.
Patrick sucks 22.
No.
That's my Gmail password.
My Gmail.
You need to not say anything this whole time.
No. You guys can talk.
Stay silent.
Silence is golden.
No. We're going to be laughing.
All right. Hey everybody, welcome. If we're gonna be recording, we need to address the audience.
Who?
The people on the other side of the.
On my phone?
I don't like how we just touched. It felt
Best friend.
It felt intimate in a way that I feel is.
You and me are reclining at a table in a lower room. We're exactly like Jesus.
We're not being held at gunpoint right now. You can't tell from
There's
the way that we are
behind the camera with the gun.
Tell them where we are. Tell them.
So we're in the Holy Land. Woo! Hey guys, yeah, and with all of our friends are off screen. I promise.
Anna just walked in. She's late.
Anna, how's it going?
That's embarrassing.
Large glass of wine.
Large glass of wine. So we're in the Holy Land.
We're in the Holy Land.
We're on pilgrimage in the Holy Land.
We're at the Ron Beach Hotel.
Yeah. So if you're in a surveillance blimp, that's where you can find us.
Hey, I gotta tell them, guys. We saw this blimp today. I just pushed a button. Did I change something?
No, you're good.
We saw this blimp today. I think that's what they do, like the Iron Dome. Have you heard about this?
No.
So Israel has an air defense system called the Iron Dome.
Okay.
Wherein, if you are to fire ground missiles at Israel, they have sensors that track the missiles and that fires up missiles to intercept all the other ones. So it kind of creates
like a dome.
Yeah. Right? But it's not actually a dome.
No.
And so I wonder if that balloon is connected to the Iron Dome.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, they're very technologically advanced here, but only in some aspects.
In other aspects, like I have a question then. What's the most like surprising amenity that you're like, I didn't know that I was gonna miss that.
that I would miss from America?
Yeah.
I feel like I've got everything. The Wi-Fi's slow.
That's true.
But that's true at my house also.
That's fair.
So there's nothing new there.
That's true. Yeah.
The bidet shoots only at my right butt cheek, so it doesn't really. It doesn't really.
Dude, mine too.
It doesn't really. And I'm like, I've thought about getting in there, like trying to readjust it, but then it's like, is that weird? I don't know.
They said it was sanitized, but I don't really believe them. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
must be a cultural thing. Because mine only shoots to the right too.
Yeah.
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 Anyway.
In America, it's
straight
down the middle.
Eisenhower conservatives, those bidets.
Right
down the middle of the road.
It's like the freaking highway project there. You could land a B-52 on that bidet. So,
speaking of
straight.
We also need to introduce our guest.
Should we?
Yeah. So
this is having a good time.
So my friend and yours, Father Adam Potter from the Diocese of Pittsburgh, is accompanying us on this trip.
I'm going to detach this mic.
He's a very good and holy man, and he's patiently waiting for us to introduce him on the podcast.
I thought we were just going to gaff for like 15 minutes before we started.
Before we even started, before we addressed the big bearded man in the room.
Father Adam Potter, please say hello. Thank you for being here. Hold the mic if you will.
I was going to let you hold it for me and serve me that way, but
it's probably easier to me just
leaning low.
Awkwardly leaning in.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, really happy to be with you. That was a glappy.
Yeah.
Glad and happy.
You've been you've been to the Holy Land before.
I've been able to be to the Holy Land before.
How many times? Just once or twice?
Twice before.
Wow. So this is like you've seen all this.
I've seen a lot of this.
Yeah.
We are going to Jericho, and I've never been there before. So
That's
I'm
cool.
Kind of
I'm
excited.
excited for Jericho.
Do a surprise march around the city and see what happens.
See what happens.
Yeah.
We're gonna make a second wailing wall. Am I right? Sorry, can I say that here?
What'd you say about the Wailing Wall?
I said we're gonna knock Jericho down and make a second one.
Oh no.
I know.
That's not good.
In Minecraft.
They're already sad.
Yeah, it's true.
These people.
I think. Okay. Yeah. So what we decided to do to introduce what we're doing, we decided this is on our main feed. This is on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So this is on the main show. This is a pilgrimage to the Holy Land that we've been organizing for like a year or so, and we're finally here. Yeah, someone else has been organizing.
We have an organized piddly squat. To be fair.
We freaked out for a year and a half, and they did it for us. But we thought that most of our patrons, a lot of people here are patrons, a lot of people here are like listeners. Couple odd ones out that were just like, I'll go to a Holy Land trip. And we decided that we were going to make a virtual pilgrimage.
Yeah.
For our
for
patrons.
you.
Yeah, for you guys. So we're going to talk about what we did today, and then for the rest of the week, we're going to gather together in our lower room, where all of us.
Yeah.
All the hundreds of us that are here on this pilgrimage.
Yes.
Such a large, so much noise. And we're going to recap our day, talk about what we did, and interview one of the people that is on our pilgrimage.
So it's like you're here with us,
Yeah.
and you can gain access to spiritual experiences with money.
Yeah.
Like the church always intended.
Nail that on your Wittenberg Cathedral and smoke it. All right.
So this one's going up for free for everybody, but if you want all of the other pilgrimage experiences where we talk about when we go to Jerusalem, when we talk about we're going to Capernaum tomorrow, we're going to go to Bethlehem, we're going to go to...
You name it, we're going.
You name it, you're going to it. So today we're going to talk about what we did today, and if you want to hear the rest of the story, patreon.com/thecrunch, $10 a month and up, will get you everything you could ever want forever. And if you're here watching on Patreon, you already know what's up.
Welcome.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
What do you think so we traveled for like 2 days.
Yeah, it took a very long time to get here, and I just chime in whenever you want. I had never been overseas before, and neither had Ethan. I was surprised at how fast the flights went.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
I was about to say you're ludicrous right now.
They wouldn't buy it for me
my
very
gosh.
quickly.
What were you doing?
Maybe because I was watching a movie and sleeping.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I was also reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
What were you reading?
I was reading the Space Trilogy. C.S. Lewis Space Trilogy.
Nice.
Yeah.
No way. Can we do another podcast on that one?
Yes, we could.
That'd be awesome.
Can we
That'd be fun.
please?
Yes.
Let's do a podcast. We can leave him out. He doesn't want to do it.
You want to start right now?
He's not going to want to do it. I love it.
I do. I read that book before you.
Really?
Yes.
That's cool. But you never wanted to talk to me about it.
I don't want to talk to you about it.
I think we can. The mic will pick us up if we hold it here.
What do you mean?
We're fine. We're fine.
All right, I'll leave it.
Thanks.
I'll leave it here.
So I think what we'll do is we'll talk. We'll have.
I was just wanting to know about your travel, and so you
my
said the
travel.
planes went fast. We thought that the planes were slow.
Ethan made friends on the plane.
I did. I met a fellow named John who works at the Olympics, or he works at like the rafting center in England that was used for the Olympics. So they built this whitewater rafting thing for the Olympics, and now he works there and manages it.
That's crazy.
And he was visiting America for a posh wedding, as he says.
A posh wedding.
Yeah. So we bonded over how we're both not rich, and so we talked about like things that rich people do. And he told me to come visit him when I come to the UK.
Wow.
I know, so it was nice.
That's funny. You
So
go
are we
whitewater
leaving you in
raft.
London then?
What?
On the way back? Are we leaving you in London? On the
I
way
wish. We spent no time in London.
We spent an hour and a half.
Contrary
in
to
London.
our Sunday episode that came out a week before this will come out, where we made a whole plan about all
we
the
were,
things that
we
we
were
were
gonna
going to do in
we were
London.
gonna like try on the Buckingham Palace hats, and we were gonna like march around. We were gonna go venerate the deceased body of the Queen, or something. I don't know. We were gonna change the clock so that it said like a different time. So
Climb
it was
up the
always
Tower of Big
4:20 in England or something.
We were going to make Big Ben say 420.
That was my plan.
I forgot that we were going to do that.
I didn't say that.
But then we only spent like 3 seconds in London. It was kind of stressful.
We passed right through.
We did.
No time at all.
I know. You keeping us calm with the Angelus, I think, was a big relief.
That
for
big?
everyone. That was
I
big
was-
for me. I don't know. Anybody
like-
else?
back? Good, just like
That was
Yeah.
mutually a prayer of thanksgiving that we landed in the UK, and just to like help us. We just had a whole nother leg after that, almost 5 hours to get to Tel Aviv. So
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
wild.
But then we made it. So it was like we left super early, like all day travel on the 19th, pretty much all day travel on the 20th. Because once we landed in Tel Aviv, we met Gabriel
Yeah.
in the airport.
And he was around for a second.
He was like
For a
a magical.
silly fun.
He's like a character in like a Christopher Nolan movie that shows up to like introduce the main character to like the secret underground world and then disappears for the rest of the movie. You know?
He got us out of the airport quicker than I thought we were going
We for
to.
sure skipped over customs.
We skipped. We just straight up. We skipped customs.
Yeah,
And
say that real loud.
he,
Everyone just scream that.
how many people do you think at the Ron Beach Hotel care that
They
we
have a surveillance blimp. What do you think?
but not in the hotel?
Not really loud, too.
we're deep into these cinder block walls.
We are. They
We're
can't
clear.
find us here. But he basically just like walked through and he just spoke a couple of words of Hebrew to the few people. and then they just waved us through.
We play the replay. He just says Boker Tov. That means good morning.
I learned how to say good morning in Hebrew, and our very attractive tour guide bullied me for it.
He is kind of attractive.
He is kind of. Dude, one
I
thing
wanted to gender the person before you guys got scandalized.
one things you guys are missing out on if you're not on this pilgrimage is our very attractive tour guide. Every time he looks at me, I kind of blush. Like,
Oh my gosh.
I'm not. It's not like a weird thing, but like I kind of. I'm intimidated.
You're not the only one.
You know.
Okay.
He's well dressed.
He's from Nazareth, and I'm like, if you look like that, Jesus must have,
Right.
must have been an attractive fella. What?
So then we landed in Tel Aviv, and we made our way to the hotel.
That was a good joke, Mom.
We made our way to the hotel.
Hear what you said.
No, what'd you say?
She said, "Oh, I guess something good must come out of Nazareth."
Ah,
go
those
Mom.
claps for mom.
My mom's here. So, hi, Mom.
Hey, mom, everyone say hi to Della. Your dad is like, what?
Dad's watching the camera. Hi, Dad.
So we made it to the hotel. It was a late night last night, but today,
Yeah.
we should talk about today. So you have notes. What did we do today? And I want to hear from both of you, because you probably had a different experience than we did, being a priest and what all. So
Yeah, so today we went to the Mount Tabor.
Tabor. Not Mount Tabor, you freaking
Tabor.
American. I went to Mount Tabor.
I'm gonna Mount Tabor. Picked up some mashed potatoes.
Got some PBR at the top. Crushed it.
6 pound whole thing.
And I'm drinking.
I was transfigured that too. Sorry. So Mount Tabor is where the transfiguration happened, and let me tell you, that would not have been a short hike. I'll tell you that much. We drove up. I got car sick on the way down. I was like, holy cow, this is steep.
A side note that everyone at home needs to know is that every 5 minutes Patrick goes, I have a headache. That's kind of been a theme of the trip so
Oh
far.
man, since this morning.
Tell them about the can of wine that you drink.
I asked for a wine on the plane, and first of all, wine on the plane was free, so there's that.
That was crazy. I saw Father drinking a beer, and I was like, oh, Father's shelling out some dough on the plane.
But it was free.
But it was free. Did you
I know the
that?
secrets. I know the secret, of course. Yeah.
Dang.
So
Why didn't you tell me?
Sorry.
I had wine with dinner, and then I asked for another one because I was like, oh, why not? And it was like, 'cause it was 2 hours later, right?
Yeah.
And so they handed me 2 cans of wine. And I was like, well, I'm only going to drink one. And so I put the other one in my
It was
bag.
a Malbec.
Sorry?
Yeah.
It was a Malbec.
Malbec.
I wasn't correcting your pronunciation. Patrick said that.
That was the type of wine.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. So it was a Malbec. I said 2 Malbecs, please, Governor.
It was in a can.
And he gave it to me.
Oh, isn't it?
It was a British plane. And so I was going to save one for when we were on the Golden Girl, the name of our second
The
plane.
name of the plane was, it had a busty lady painted on the nose of the plane.
Right there on its schnoz.
Yeah, and then the flight attendant was like, "Welcome to the Golden Girl." Like she was ashamed to say what the name of the plane was.
Well, because the seats were like from the 80s.
Oh, dude, that was uncomfortable.
But yeah, so I got a second wine because I was like, oh, I'll just have it on the flight 'cause it's gonna be like 1 o'clock in the morning my time. And but it was 8 a.m. London time, and we're going through there. We have to go through security again.
Right.
And so I was like, oh no, I have a liquid.
No.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
I have a big old liquid. I have a big old liquid. And I was like, oh hey, I forgot I had this. Like, can you guys just toss it? And she goes, well, you could down it. And I'm like, it's alcoholic, ma'am. And she goes, well. And then
You're so free over there.
And then I moved on because I was like, maybe that guy will have a trash can. And I was like, hey, can you toss it? He's like, oh, you can just drink it. It's pretty small. I was like, yeah, it's alcoholic. And he's like, if I was you, I'd just down it. And I was like, well, cheers. And I downed it. And honestly, nothing happened. Except I have had a headache.
Except
all
for
day.
this lingering headache that won't go away.
So maybe, yeah, a 3-day hangover.
We've all been there.
One for each.
He's been hungover for 3 years.
And all I could think of was, sirs, we are not drunk, for it is only 9 o'clock in the morning.
That's true. That's like the Acts of the Apostles.
Acts of the Apostles.
Yes.
That happened around here.
It did.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I didn't think about
Around
that.
these parts.
I was just thinking about the Gospels. I didn't think about what comes after.
I know. Not too many people do.
So we were on the Mount Tabor.
Mount Tabor.
Mount Tabor.
Yep.
And so we were going to talk about it.
So the Church of the Transfiguration, we went there, and it was It was the first site that we went to, and so it was like we got here with Sea of Galilee. It was beautiful, like a lot of natural beauty, but it was the first man-made beauty that we saw on the trip, and it was like I was like, wow, this is crazy, and it was just like it was hard to take it all in because I was like, I can't believe we're here. The whole thing I kept saying, I can't believe we're here. It's just wild.
What was your experience? Because if you've been there before, right?
Have you said before?
You said mass there before?
No, I've said mass there before.
Okay, so what was it like coming back? Was it like, oh, it's Transfiguration? Like, not a big deal? Or was it...
I don't think any of these places are like that. Like, every time I'm like...
it's new
I'm able to come back. Yeah,
That's
I'm just
crazy.
like... Yeah, so grateful for it all. Yeah, like, how do we describe for everybody that... I mean, in the Gospels, it's very ambiguous. First of all, what mountain it is at all. We know that only through tradition. Like, hundreds of years later, they're like, nope, it was definitely Mount Tabor. But then the other thing that's ambiguous in the Gospel account is just like, and they climbed a mountain. You're like, oh, it's like a little hill, like a little getaway. I mean,
pretty big mountain.
It's a couple hundred foot climb feet. How do you say that? A couple 100-foot climb. And yeah, that probably would have taken hours. My first time that I was here, I did get a chance to climb with my other seminary classmates.
How long did it take you? Hours?
It probably took about 3 hours. Wow. Yeah.
Were there like Were you following the roads? Like, how were you?
Well,
so here's the thing. You could go by the road, or you could go off-roading.
You off-roaded.
And I, of course, off-roaded. I was loving it, bounding like a gazelle with my 6'5" long legs, and working with my other friends just to climb up. Because like Jesus didn't have a paved road to climb up, so I'm like, how did he get up?
Even if he did, he wouldn't have used it.
Agreed, for sure.
Chad behavior.
Yes, the rugged man that he is.
Yeah.
So
the virgin road user versus the Chad off-road walker.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you did that.
So I did that, and so to be at the top, what's the cliche? Like, it brings the scriptures to life, and so to
the fifth gospel and all that.
How do you like put that aside and to be able to like really appreciate to enter into like we're here and to really appreciate, first of all, just we got to take a nice little bus ride up the top, but what would it have been like to kind of get to the top, like this adventure with the Lord? Maybe you just think like just climbing to the top and looking at the view is it, like that's why he brought you up there, and then to be brought into like there's so much more that he has for me. It's kind of just like a great thing in terms of like the life of following the Lord. It's like you can think that it's about this, and that when you just like trustingly follow him, he has so much more.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that they had real fire on the candles on the altar, but electric candles on the back. Did you notice that?
A little anachronistic. I like it.
It was a little bit like, guys, we're at where the transfiguration happens.
Yeah.
Surely we can shell out for some candles.
We can have some, you know?
You know, like, what? I just didn't understand that.
I liked that. It was funny.
I would bet that in the Orthodox Church, they got real candles.
Probably.
You think they got electric rocking in there? No, probably not. But that was my gripe with it.
Sure. You're like, I liked it, but, you know, except for those electric candles.
Well, no, it's just and not to mention, I know that Hanny said that it was an Illuminati, but like,
oh, come on.
I'm not saying that it is, but like, it's Hanny.
He introduced himself as Hanny.
He did. Hannikin Skywalker.
Honey?
Honey like Yanni.
Yes, dear.
But he said Hanny like Yanny, bro.
He said honey like Yanni. It sounded more like Yanni.
Honey like Yanni sounds
This is all how to pronounce the name of our tour guide, our attractive tour guide.
What? It could be.
I don't know if they know what we're talking about. It's all to this.
Hani is our attractive tour guide.
This is the attractive tour guide. So basically,
Is he here? He knows who he is.
There's an Illuminati symbol.
We need to get him on the dating portal.
We do. Whoa. I don't know if he would be interested in this scene at all.
I want to hear us try to describe to him who English is his second language, not his first language, maybe even third.
Yeah.
It's your dating problems. Like that's what I wanted.
Who's dating problems?
Today I tried to describe the term nickel and dime to a non-native English speaker.
No. Pick the other term that you tried to describe to someone today.
Oh yeah.
Term? You mean the word?
The word when you left from the pool.
Oh, the ball.
Ball. So today I tried to describe two things to a non-native English speaker. I don't know why you're laughing at me. You're the one who wanted a ball like a little child.
We wanted to play volleyball.
Sure. So I go up. They make me go up to the bartender at the hotel and ask if the hotel has like a ball for us to play with in the pool. And she goes, "A what?" they didn't have a ball so much that she didn't even know the English word for ball. I had to describe to her what a ball was, and I was like this, and she was like, "You want like a lot of beer?" Is that what she was this? And I was like, "No, like a ball." And she was like, "Oh no." She knew the Spanish word for ball because I tried Spanish because a bunch of people here speak Spanish. Apparently.
Why did they speak Spanish in Israel?
I don't know. Because the Spaniards won. I don't know.
The Spaniards won.
That never set on their empire.
Francisco Franco really knew what he was doing.
Francisco Suarez really knew what he was doing.
Anyway.
Yes, that was fun.
So, Illuminati is where we were going.
So
there's this triangle.
All-seeing eye.
So the church is really cool because it's set up like the three tents, which I really liked. So it's Moses, Elijah, and then Jesus. And there's three different chapels. There's a Moses chapel, Elijah chapel, and a Jesus chapel. And in the Jesus chapel, there's three more chapels, and it's the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And in the Father one, there's a triangle with an eye in it. And our tour guide specifically went out of his way to say, "Oh, it's not Illuminati," which I think is a plant.
He probably just gets that a lot.
I think it's a plant. I think he's been told to say that by the Franciscans.
No, the symbol was stolen.
Do some research into what the Franciscans were up to in the 50s, and we'll talk.
Oh my gosh.
This church is older than the 50s.
It was built. That one was built in 55, if I'm not mistaken.
1955.
Yes, 1955. I wouldn't say 55 for 1755.
Okay, that church was built in 1955.
Yes, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I listened during the tour.
I didn't.
My experience was that
I know they were building stuff like that.
it was crazy to like be where the Transfiguration was, and it's like, all right, time to go.
Yeah,
That was really hard because it's like we had mass and that was beautiful. And, like, I was trying to pray with all the things that you said and, like, all the things that I wanted to pray about. And then, like, I wanted to see it. And then it's like, time to get on the bus. That was really hard.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it would have been nice to have some more time to linger around.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we started with the Transfiguration because it seemed, like you mentioned this in your homily, that it's going to be, like, a theme of, like, it's good that we're here. And then, like, Peter's reaction to the Transfiguration was like, hey, let's hang out. Like, let's stay right here and we'll build a tent. For you guys, we'll sleep outside. Like, we'll do whatever it takes to stay here. I was like, I kind of get that. Because it's like, I wanted to be here longer, but it wasn't possible because we had to go to Magdala.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. We had to go eat lunch.
We did eat lunch. I had a fish. And so the guy, did you get fish?
Can I tell my story?
I don't know what happened at your end of the table.
I feel really bad. I may have been talking up just like how awesome it would be to get a fresh fish right out of the Sea of Galilee.
You were just hyped about it.
I was just hyped about it, the possibility, about the opportunity.
Right.
And so everyone around me ordered fish, and I was the last one, and I ordered a kebab. Which kind of set off some... I didn't do it intentionally. I was just like, this is, wow, what a cool thing.
You just forgot about all of your excitement. He kebabbed out.
I must, yeah. Just bobbed right out.
I think we have
and the kebab was delicious.
I'm sure there's got to be more places to eat fish.
They had St. Peter's fish at dinner, but it was filleted. So we ate a fish with its head on it. It's
prepared, yeah.
It was
whole
difficult.
and entire.
Yeah.
It's looking back at
spirit, soul, and body.
Ethan swallowed a couple bones.
I did have a couple bones in me, more than the normal amount.
A few more.
I got 206 now. 200. Is it 208? I thought it was 206.
It is 206, but you had 208.
I had 208. Sideways in my esophageal tube.
What happens if you swallow a fish bone?
You die. How was the kebab?
It was so good.
Really?
Yeah.
What was so? It was basically just barbecue. Like, was it pork or what? I mean, probably not pork.
No,
Probably wasn't.
Probably not pork.
No pork. Just a beef.
Just a beef barbecue. Huh.
Yep, beef on a stick. They took out, and it was just perfectly tender.
What was
easy
the
to knife through, and no bones to pick up. Sorry. Oh yeah. The head was not on anymore. Yeah.
You got French fries?
You didn't get French fries?
I got French fries.
No, but I thought the French fries were like a reward for getting through the fish. I thought it was like,
Nope.
Well
just gave
done, my
those
good
out.
and faithful servant. Here is a French fry.
American swine.
Where did the rumor start that the beer was $1? Who started that? Because I ordered a beer and then it was $6. So
I'll spot you a $5 next time.
we saw you order a beer, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's $1. It's $1."
Maybe you thought it was free.
Father Adam ordered $1 beer. Oh, boo, boo. And then I was like, "I'll have $1," and the guy said 48,000 shekels or whatever it was, and I had to pay him.
That's it. Yeah.
He was trying to make change.
Trying to make change.
A tragic misunderstanding.
The rumor started.
I thought you were telling fibs down there to try and seduce us all into purchasing beer.
I can get them to order fish.
I know.
And
Using
then,
the Israeli economy.
You're gonna get the fish and no beer.
They're gonna drink San Pellegrino like a bunch of schlubs.
so you guys didn't get beers?
I did. Oh, I did.
I didn't.
He got San Pellegrino like a schlub.
You're still hungover from your canned wine.
He is.
Nice swine. The nice swine.
So then we went to Magdala, and I liked Magdala because my goddaughter's name is Magdalene, so I got to pray for her while we were there. So that was cool. And we learned about this synagogue. I didn't know about this synagogue situation.
You hear about this?
But I thought that they excavated everything way back. Like when they pulled the Rosetta Stone out of that building, I thought that's when all that was going on. You know?
Yeah.
The 1800s, they were bored. The war hadn't happened yet.
They didn't have much to do.
They didn't have much to do, truly.
They were building weapons, not using them.
Yes, and so they were discovering lots of things. So I thought that's when all of this sort of got
Yeah.
discovered.
No.
Turns out 2009.
Yeah,
That's kind of
they
crazy.
found the old rock.
They dug up a first century synagogue, and you can just kind of see.
And it was 2 meters under the earth, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's like
2,000 years. It took 1,000 years for a meter of dirt to go on top of this synagogue.
yeah.
That's crazy.
It's crazier to me that no one found it before.
Yeah.
Then
No one dug a hole like
for thousands of years.
thousands of years. No entrepreneuring young man was like,
I'm gonna dig a hole.
That's the 3rd century equivalent of I'm gonna start a podcast.
Oh, there he goes.
Kids these days they're not digging holes anymore. You know? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's right next to the beach. Why did so? But the lady was like the valley used to flood once every 40 years or so. So people that were growing up in that area were like, don't build anything there. It's gonna flood. So don't ever build anything there. And the kids were like, all right, cool, Mom, I'm not gonna do that. And then they just went somewhere else. So
Yeah.
they never laid foundation over anything. It's weird.
Yeah, and then we went to the Duke and Altum Spirituality Center.
Yeah, I want to talk more about the rock they found.
Which
the temple
the
rock?
Temple Rock?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you want
A lot
to?
of notes about that.
What do you want to say about
Yeah,
the
I'd
rock?
love to,
You have
I'd love to
thoughts?
break that open for
You have-
everybody.
Yeah, that'd be great. Have Father talk about the
Yeah,
rock.
yeah.
Can you start and I can fill in? Because he, and this is where Hani was just awesome and breaking open all the symbols.
Do you think with the AirPod in his ear he was getting fed information, or do you think he
I
has?
sometimes wonder.
I
Do you
think he's
think?
just flexing on us.
It's incredible.
I think he's just flexing on us. No, so so the rock. I didn't realize what it was until right at the end of the presentation, and so I kind of backfilled everything. What are you symbolizing? What are you signaling to me? Oh, you think? Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, so they. I didn't realize the symbolism of the rock until at the end of the presentation. I know what it was, but then it kind of filled in the gap. So
Got the light turned off.
it was a.
That's fine. We're good.
We're good. Thanks.
Okay.
Good looking out. So it was in the synagogue, again, 1st century synagogue. They had this rock,
I call it the Gog.
the Gog.
Oh, yeah.
Continue.
Okay.
Just-
One of the kings of.
I felt useless for a minute, so I wanted to say
Okay.
something.
So
Has it been talking?
Kelly and I were talking about this. The synagogues were like a replacement for the temple because the temple had been destroyed. So rabbinic Judaism replaced it with the synagogue, and they had in every synagogue this rock that was like a representation of the temple, and it was roughly the size of the temple, and it had all this temple imagery on
Roughly
it.
the size of the dimensions.
Roughly the dimensions
Like
of
the
yeah.
equal.
It's only a model, but that's what it was.
the size
Yeah.
of each synagogue.
Each synagogue has a temple that's
Yeah.
cubits, whatever. So they had this rock that was a symbol of the temple, and it had a bunch of temple imagery on it. I thought that was super cool, and I was I was thinking about what it must be to be a 1st century Jew, and thinking wow, the temple's gone, and we need the temple, and they start building it again. And you're like, ooh, the Messiah's gonna come, 'cause that's what
Coming back.
and then being super expectant the Messiah might come in your lifetime. That's a really cool thing. Anyway, yeah, so
My understanding though is that there were synagogues while the temple was there too. It wasn't just like a post-destruction,
I
right?
thought it was a post-destruction thing. I thought it was a first temple thing when the first temple was destroyed.
Yes.
After the first temple, okay, but yeah.
But they kept it up after the.
But Herod's temple that's there at the time of Jesus. There are other synagogues that are there. Well,
Yeah.
temple sacrifices that are taking place. But it's cool because it's like it's all ordered and directed towards Jerusalem. So all of their prayers and stuff are all meant to like complement what's happening in the temple, which is why like then that representation there,
Yeah.
that block is
This is like a mini temple.
yeah.
Which I think is interesting because like God didn't want them to have multiple temples for a reason.
Right.
Because that was originally the plan, but then they fell again, and so he's like, no, localized worship only.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like, it's interesting that they did that and that God was cool with it, in my opinion. I'm not going to say synagogues were wrong. Obviously they're
Synagogues are the Protestant churches of Judaism.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
They just get together and read from the book and talk about it.
Yeah, this is like a replacement for the thing that we ought to be doing.
Right.
It's a really interesting comparison.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I just thought of that. I didn't...
But it's interesting that
me.
it's interesting that they continued after the temple was reestablished. Because like they didn't need to anymore because the thing had arrived.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So it's kind of like a prefiguring of what was going to happen with Christ, where it's like we want the temple to continue even though the new temple has arrived.
Yeah.
You know, like that was the kind of like rabbinic attitude.
Reformed temple. It was reformed.
It was a reformed temple, yeah.
I also think that the rock is interesting because it's symbolic of the worship. So like it had the showbread, it had the olive branches or the olive leaves, it had the menorah, it had the archways, and then the oil lamp, and then it had the what was on the back, the
door.
The door, right? Or like so it's like all of these different things that are teaching you, just like with how it's shaped, about how the liturgical sacrifice goes. And I feel like that is correlated with like how a properly designed Catholic church is now, where it's like the baptismal font is at the front, and then the altar is set up in a certain way, and the pews are like the church is set up maybe in a cruciform pattern, and the crucifix is in a certain place, and it's like the tabernacle is where it is, and like how we like took that. It's like that same concept of it being like a physical thing, teaching us about how worship works. Is like still what we do now for like the churches that are properly designed.
And Hani pointed this
You know
out,
what I mean?
and I was like, "This is crazy." He pointed out all the different things: the vine and the gate and the light, and he was like, "Those are all correlated to like what John."
That was cool.
That was super cool.
I've never heard that before.
Like, I am the door, I am the gate, that was cool. I wrote that was one.
Did you know that?
I was writing down.
Knew that.
I have heard that before.
Nice
Yeah.
priest,
Wild.
freaking loser.
I mean, I think it's crazy they have all these things on the rock that's like, and Jesus is like, I'm that. They didn't know that he was gonna say that. It's
cool though because you can imagine him in the synagogue pointing to it, be like,
That's
me.
Yeah, I'm that, and then them being like, we're gonna kill you.
Yeah, and be like, that, you will actually.
Yeah, and he's like,
Yeah, you're right.
I'm gonna try.
The thing is, it's not going to take. So
It's amazing how much that helps though, right? I'm thinking about like Jesus talking about like I'm the vine, you are the branches, and we're just like, oh, that's really like neat symbolism. But it's also temple symbolism that there was a vine that covered the entire door to go into where the sacrifice took place. I mean, all of that just like conjures up, sacrifice, communion, intimacy, and atonement. So we miss that, but to know about the temple, how it's constructed and everything, brings it to life.
So we also talked about the salt and the light at Magdala. So that was interesting, because I was like, I don't know what the connection is. We said that Magdala was like the city of salt or something. In Hebrew, that's what it means. And what?
Because they process a bunch of fish.
Oh, because they process a bunch of fish, they
It's
preserve.
salt and
Yeah.
bad salt.
So Jesus gives this sermon, right? He's like, "You're salt of the earth, you're the light of the world." And Hani was talking about how like what they would do with salt. I had heard this must be incorrect. Someone was like, if salt loses its taste, and someone was like, salt can't lose its taste because blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting, whatever. But salt, they did say that you can only use the salt a couple of times, and once it was run out, they would put it in front of their door and just get walked over.
yeah,
And I was thinking about the phrase, "You are the salt of the earth," and it's like that could go one of two ways, where it's like you're the salt of the earth, and if salt loses its taste, which could happen, all it's going to do is get trampled over.
yeah.
And I was thinking about how the church kind of gets trampled over now these days, and I wonder if that might be because we're kind of bad salt sometimes.
But the other thing is, even if salt is functioning properly, if you put it in a field, the plants are going to die. So like salt is just not good to put on the ground.
Sure, don't put it
Generally.
on the ground.
So the whole metaphor is confusing.
Okay.
Oh gosh,
So I think what Honey was what
there's a different twist to it.
what I got out of
Let's
it.
go back to what you were saying, Patrick, because
yeah,
I think there's a lot there. Yeah,
That's,
it's
that's,
like
that's funny because that's an objection that the character Matthew gives to Jesus in the Chosen about the Sermon on the Mount. He's like, they're gonna hear you say "salt the earth," which would be like a reference to the Punic Wars, which I thought was an interesting commentary.
I don't know anything about the Punic Wars. Sorry that I threw you off your train
They
of thought.
salted the earth.
The church is getting destroyed.
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
he was talking about like salt was used to preserve the fish, right? Salt was used to preserve the fish. So we're the salt of the earth. We're supposed to preserve the earth. Like that's what we're here for. Is like we kind of keep it and grow it, right? And like not grow, but like make sure it doesn't degrade. And then when we don't do that, the only thing it's worth is just being thrown on the ground. It was useful. It was useful to clean people's feet. He was saying it was like people would like scrape their feet on it to like get the gunk off their feet before they walk
And you
into
know
a
what kind
house.
of gunk people had on their shoes back then? Manure.
Yeah, indeed.
So that's what the church is good for now, is being a shit scraper.
And I was
what you're saying.
thinking about it because I was thinking about what Hans von Balthasar wrote this like tongue-in-cheek play. Apparently, the theologians at the Second Vatican Council would write satirical plays about their ideological enemies.
Gosh, they're such nerds.
I know. And
Go play ping pong or something.
and von
the rest of us.
Balthasar wrote this one about what we can only assume is Karl Rahner, and he was like talking about how like, the priest was talking to like the worldly man, and he was like, "Don't you understand? Like we're on your side." The Christian was like, "We're on your side. We're here for revolution. We're here for liberation. We're here for like humanitarianism." And the guy's like, "Well, you're too late. Like we already did it. So what are you useful for?
Ooh.
If you agree with us, then like why do we need you?"
Yeah.
And it was like that was coming to my mind because I was like, yeah, like if we're just of the world in like a general like therapeutic moralistic deism way, then like what's the point? We should just get we're doing a bunch of extra stuff we don't need to do. Because he was like the play ends with this like really devastating line where he's like, "We are the spirit of the French Revolution," and he's like, "Yeah, well, the French Revolution beat you to the punch. Mm-hmm. So what are you useful for?" Wow. That's just what I was thinking of.
Wow.
I don't know why.
You've read this play.
Yeah, it's like a couple of pages. It's not. It's
still
not
really impressive.
Yeah. It's
Patrick, the type of guy to go to the Vatican Council and write a play.
Maybe they were playing ping pong in the side chapels of the Vatican.
Maybe.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Father, as a clergyman?
as a clerk.
Yeah, I just think about how we're just like we've just lost so many things that make and set us apart as being Catholic. Like even our liturgy.
Okay, sorry about that. Everything still sucks, even here, with our technology abilities. Father, you were saying about the church. Do you remember where you were?
I remember precisely.
Okay.
I was going to steal an insight from Anthony Eslin. He was giving this talk and related the church to like the classic dragon at the end of The Hobbit or whatever. And it's like, what's the dragon doing? Like,
Hoarding.
It's sitting on the gold.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's it doing with it? It's like just sitting on it, making sure no one else can have it.
Whoa.
And Anthony Eslin's like, the church is kind of like that dragon right now. Like sitting on just a storehouse of incredible treasure. And it's like, oh, what about like this literature? What about this music? Like, nope, can't touch it. Like, what about this worship? What about this chant? Like, nope, can't touch it. And it's like, gosh, like we have so much to offer right now. And
And the things that we do touch is like the plastic money that's sitting, out in the hallway. The Marty Haugen plastic music, the David Haas, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny this is coming up because like I've said this several times on our way to the Holy Land. Even starting in JFK, I was like, you could just tell when, like you could tell who's Jewish, you could tell who's Muslim, and you can't really tell who's Catholic unless they're a priest in uniform. You know what I mean? It's like it was a very specific.
Even I got to Jerusalem and someone said, "You're a pastor?" Because you looked Orthodox. And not Orthodox Catholic, Orthodox Jew.
Orthodox Jew.
Like,
Wow.
shoot.
Oh, wow.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
The beard, I feel like the beard is finally being
But I was
appreciated.
like,
The color hides behind
I know.
yeah.
It's me.
Hi, I'm a priest. But yeah, it's like we don't have really like have
It's
any
distinctive.
distinguishing features, and even the distinguishing like religious orders, them distinguishing themselves as religious orders is falling out of style, if not almost entirely extinguished. And it's like I'm not saying that if like if priests always wore their clerics and nuns always wore habits, that the church would be saved, but we would at least be that sign of contradiction we're supposed to be. We would be the light on the hill that's not easily hidden. It's like right now we're a city on a hill that has really great cloaking, so to speak.
Here's something
Like
that
Wakanda.
We're like
It's for the viewers at home.
yeah, to hear about Wakanda.
Yeah, I'm balancing out your Hans Urs von Balthasar reference with a Marvel reference. Just trying to keep it something for everyone. You know what I mean? The everyman.
This is the podcast.
This is the podcast.
Okay, so I'm with you on a lot of, just to like give a response, because I was remembering there's some church father who talks about one of the amazing things about Christians is that they're just out there and they're not kind of like in your face, like I'm wearing this clothing, it's like.
I remember this. It was like, I think it was Ignatius of Antioch said this. I don't remember the full
That
quote.
sounds like the type of guy in the time period.
Yeah.
Just to say like how amazing that is that Christians are just out there and you can't tell who they are based on like how they talk or what they wear, but you can tell who they are by how they love.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be universal.
Correct. And so, yeah, but I think we can appreciate that and still have like distinct, like how about just even modesty right now?
Oh, yeah.
I see that in a lot of the Jews, just like in the way they wear, the men and the women alike. Like there's just a distinctive, I don't even know if it's like a uniform that they're wearing, but like they're just intent on being modest. And like, oh, you're different. And we kind of have that opportunity too in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a lot of things that you can point to and people do. It's like whatever their preference is, you know? Like if the priests would just wear cassocks, then we're good to go, you know? And if the women just covered their hair all the time and would talk to me and marry me, then we'd be good to go, you know? It's interesting. It's the same kind of guy who says those things. But I think it has to be, I don't know, the only way that it feels like any of this can progress in any meaningful way. So I feel like the decline is evident. Like there's a friend of ours in the Discord who is self-conscious about the fact that he's always doom and gloom about the state of the church. And because I think we're prone to be like more optimistic, but I think it's like,
Speak for yourself.
well, I think we try not to avoid the doom and gloom, because it's like you can point at the thing and say like, oh, this is going bad and this is going bad, and the salt, we're running out and we're outside and people are scraping on us and it's not good. And like
We're covered in manure.
you can say that stuff over and over again and it feels good because it's like, yeah, this is happening, this is really bad, and it's a problem, and I'm suffering from this, and a lot of people are suffering from this, so I've named it, and all right, and you can get a lot of people behind that.
Yeah.
This is how Trump won the election in 2016. This is also how Taylor Marshall makes it look. I think the counterpoint to that is like we need to be able to acknowledge like, yeah, all this stuff is happening, but also recognize that the response for a Christian is to do nothing other than just to fall more in love with God and become more virtuous. You know, like that's really the only thing in our control.
Yeah.
And like by doing that, maybe God will put you in situations where you can affect more things. But he probably won't. You know? Which is like the weird thing about, like you said, like being a Christian is like we're just kind of there and we just have to love, which feels dumb when like everything's falling apart. It's like, shouldn't I put out all these fires? It's like, no, I probably should stop sinning. Maybe it's the thing that I should do.
Yeah.
You know,
Which is a good addition because it's like, it's our response is like, I'm going to be faithful, I'm going to love, I'm going to serve. But it's also repent, like further repentance. And it's so interesting how, Our Lady has come and really told us like, we need to pray and do penance.
Yeah.
And I don't know when the last homilies you've heard on like doing penance or like even Lent's the time for like getting your act together or something like.
yeah.
No, it's penance. Like, making reparation for not only my sins, but because we're connected in the body, like I can do reparation for the sins more broadly in the church. And so, some of those devotions and fasting and sacrifices just go
But I feel
a long way.
that's a place like, correct me if I'm wrong,
Go for it.
but I feel like so many people are so far away from even being able to like approach that. You know, like. I don't think someone who is spiritually in infancy should just start taking on reparations for other people's sins.
I don't
You
think
know?
that's necessarily true.
Well, that's why I said correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, okay. I shall. I was thinking about this the other day because I was having breakfast with someone who is not a Christian at all, and was,
What?
He was like, I know, crazy. And he was very anti. The reason I said is very anti-Christian. And he kind of said some things that were relatively blasphemous, And I was just driving away and I was thinking about them and I was like, that must have hurt Mary to hear that, And it's like sins are real; they hurt real people. And I was like, he's never gonna say sorry for that, so like. I should, I think he's never, but I can, on his behalf, and that's not something that takes hair shirts and kneeling on rice.
It's kind of like
rosary,
I think about the term peasant's faith quite often.
Yeah.
Because I think that's because it's base, and I think it's something that I need to have. It's just like this simple ideal, like divorced from all this knowledge about the faith that we have, where it's just like, oh, that probably hurt Mary's feelings. I should say sorry. Like that's such a simple thing to be able to do that you don't have to be anything other than who you are.
You don't have to have this whole consoling the heart of Jesus philosophy, theology, where it's like, oh, he's technically still suffering in heaven, and so I should offer him reparations, and that's all good, and it's helpful. But it was very real in that moment where I was like, oh yeah. That Mary's a real person, and if someone said that about my mom, I would be sad.
Yeah.
I would be blisteringly angry, but I'd also be sad. And, I would want to tell my mom and apologize for that person,
But to my point originally, does the average Catholic even have that amount of faith?
I don't think... I think that you could describe... I think you could couch that... I think the average Catholic has enough faith where if you... gently explained to them, they would kind of understand how reparations work.
I agree, but who's going to do that?
What we need to do is we need to get a bunch of people and put them through theology degrees at a private Christian university.
Yeah.
And then send them randomly to different parishes that can pay them a wage. And then have them try and convince everyone at the parishes.
Dragging the Echo program.
Yeah! Unfortunately,
it's
I'm
really
wrong.
hard. Or they need to listen to the French.
Yeah, that's true.
Ooh! Oh. I changed my answer. Send them this podcast.
Oh, hold on.
Obviously. And then tell them to
I thought that was going to be a softball pitch. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on all that?
Point of your podcast.
It's a really good. I really appreciate your anecdote. I think that goes a long way. I don't know. I think about Our Lady when she came at Fatima. These children were 7, 8, and 11 years old.
They're so much smarter than me.
They were little shepherd kids.
Talk about the peasantry.
They're amazing.
Yeah, I mean, they can get it. They're you intentionally accepting the sufferings, you can use those to be able to benefit the church and those people who are suffering, and even those who aren't being faithful, or even souls in purgatory. They got that. I guess whatever Mary did show them the souls in purgatory and souls in hell. So
Hey kids.
Yeah.
maybe that's the next level, but
I don't know. Maybe it's not. You don't have to be anywhere to get that. It's like a gift in a way.
which is faith.
Yeah.
And it is a gift. So yeah, I tend to think we sell our faithful short on what they can really get and take to heart. But kind of to your point about this collective, whether it's a way to distinguish us, there's also what a difference it makes to know that we're all doing penance together. Mm-hmm. We're all abstaining from meat on Friday. Not anymore, but we could all.
Some of us are eating kebabs on Friday.
we could all be doing this together.
Yeah.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
And add just a different dimension of I'm in this together.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to think, it's sometimes a lot of that stuff is a little, I don't know, kitschy or I don't know, Catholic thing of the week, sometimes at the parish where it's we're all going to do this thing together, and it's just the same people that do everything are going to do the thing. But to that point, it's if you just get one extra person to do that this year that didn't do it last year, whatever the thing is, the Lenten penance service or the whatever, it's these things that crop up all the time that we kind of get numb to because we just do them all the time because we're at the parish, we hear about them, we did it when we were kids. But it's rebuilding that back up is a way to get back to that communal experience of penance, I think. So it's kind of I get so jaded. I'm only 27. I get so jaded because I don't know, those things are just, it's all the same, and it's not going anywhere, but it could go somewhere. Yeah.
Well,
Well,
it happens. I think jadedness is an immature attitude.
thanks.
I don't think it's an elder. I think you're I'm only 27, and it's I'm already jaded, but I think that like, I think that being jaded is an immature attitude. I think that when you get older and more mature, you're like a little more patient and understanding.
So mature.
Your face looks amazing when you do that.
Baby.
Some people grow old and stay jaded.
Yes.
They don't necessarily mature when they grow old.
Yeah. Like I think about my coworker Carol. She's a Carol. Carol. We decided that an opposite of a Karen is a Carol, because everyone knows a Carol who's like this, like just so
She's nice.
so much
She has
light.
good intentions.
Yeah. And Carol is always like, she takes everything. She took everything with stride. She would like take gossip about her in the office, and she'd be like, "It's okay. They're upset and they need to let it out." She's like very like patient. She had pancreatic cancer twice, 2 surgeries, and both times she was like, "It's my time." And she woke up. She's like, "Jesus, why didn't you take me?" Like she's just crazy. Like,
Dang.
Do you only have one
ridiculous.
pancreas?
Yeah.
So she got cancer on the same pancreas twice.
Well, it does. Cancer's kind of like that, man. You know?
I know, yeah, but I didn't know if it was. I didn't know if there were 2 pancreases.
Oh, okay. No, there's only one.
What does it do?
More opportunity.
It produces, yeah.
Insulin?
Yeah.
If it,
Sometimes. Sometimes.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Cool. And then we went to the pool.
Yeah.
and we were unsuccessful.
We raced. We did swimming races.
We did a race.
Ethan and I tied. Then Ethan won. Then Anna won. And then I won.
Yeah. So I peaked at 50 meters. That's where I was king. And then everything after that I started to fell off. No.
I saved the best wine for last.
And then you all looked like you were gonna puke.
Oh,
I did.
You did?
No, I didn't.
Oh my god.
I did look
Oh, okay.
like I was gonna puke. I had to take someone's water. I don't know whose that was. It was Grace's water.
I just look over and he's drinking. I'm like,
Yeah, I didn't
I'm gonna
ask.
go swimming tomorrow morning. That was fun.
That was fun.
So,
And then now we're
Did
here.
it hit you that you were swimming in a pool by the Sea of Galilee?
We got into the Sea of Galilee.
there was a
Are you
black
in
flag that said no, but then the lifeguard was like, yeah, you can.
Dude,
So we went back
can
and
I
out.
just say something?
Yeah.
There's something about like the ideal Mediterranean man that I am like,
Oh my gosh.
I am seeing like this lifeguard was in a Speedo. He was perfectly tan. He was smoking a cigarette. He was reading a book. He was not paying attention to anything.
He was not guarding life.
He was not guarding life at all. We like walk down to the sea where there's a black flag, which is like don't swim. And then we're like, can we go down there? And he just kind of goes, like he just kind of waves his hand. And then we all go swim for like 10 minutes. We come back up, and then you were like, oh, he said not to swim. It's
But
like when
then later,
he didn't do it.
was swimming. In the he was like doing laps. He was like, I wouldn't. I was like, I wanted to ask him if he spoke English because I think he might not have spoken English.
Yeah.
Sounds like there's a good chance.
only kind of do.
That's so funny.
He was listening into your conversation later.
Yeah.
So
What were you talking
he was
about?
like sitting like this.
What were you talking about that interested the thong man?
What were we
Having a private conversation
about?
About what?
about
It was like when you all when we were
we're
sitting
having a
like
conversation about children.
Oh, like having children?
Oh, yeah, we were having a very deep conversation about childbearing.
I see. And you're all like young people, and he was like,
Yeah, it was like, why? He's like,
That's
He was
crazy.
expecting like Tel Aviv 20-year-olds, like.
we all look like we're from Tel Aviv.
I'm sure Tel Aviv is an eclectic melting pot of a city.
I don't think that it is.
I think it might be.
I think if you look at the demographics of Israel, it's gonna be pretty solidly
I think
one race of
People
people.
go to other places
Sure,
and visit. That's what
but not to
I'm
like live.
saying. I don't know, man.
I don't know,
I
man.
know, so
The little-
from Ireland. Celine.
Celine, the goat. Anyway.
Anyway, so that was good, and we swimming, and then we dinner, and then we podcast.
Yeah.
I think we're way past time, probably.
Oh no, we're about it. Sorry.
We can talk about the heat.
That's a given.
It's hot here.
It
Where
makes you go, this is the land God
if
promised.
if Scott wore a hat, he wouldn't be as hot as he
What was
is.
the other place then?
Scott looks at me at dinner and he says, "Dude, today was so hot." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean it was kind of hot. It wasn't that bad." He's like, "Yeah, I just don't have a hat." I'm like, "Well, of course it's hot. You're not shielding your skull, dog."
Yeah. So we're gonna try and do something like this every night.
Might not be as long, might not be as many people, because I don't know who's gonna want to come to this
Yeah.
every night.
Yeah, but we want to.
Because we won't have Father Adam on every night. He's just like a one-time.
Yeah.
This
Thanks
is
for having me.
this is the one. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say before we close out the show? You can say anything.
anything.
Yeah.
Kebab.
Okay. Right. Wow.
All right. Yeah, so thank you guys for listening. If you're watching this and you enjoyed it, we're going to be doing more of these for our Patreon supporters. Go to patreon.com/thecrunch and donate $10 a month or more, and you will get access to all of our Patreon episodes.
You can also donate 40 shekels a month or more. That's the conversion.
If you go to patreon.co.ir, you can donate 40 shekels a month.
IL.
Is it IL?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. I did my best.
Israel.
Anyway. So if you can't donate $10 a month, I get it. The best thing you can do is leave a review and tell your friends about the podcast. Ethan, do you have anything else for the people?
No.
Oh, wait, sorry, I forgot.
This isn't the dating
But he
episode.
got it right for the first time.
That's true.
What a waste.
bit.ly/crunch discord. Patrick, do you have anything else for the people?
I do not regret my shoes. I love them.
Put those grippers away. All right, bye everybody. Bye. Thanks everyone. Say everyone clap. Thank you everyone. Say please pray for us what we pray for you. We'll see you all next week.